Hey guys, this episode of Erik Baseball Academy podcast is brought to you by Born in the Cage Apparel. Go to borninthecage.com. You can check them out. Awesome shirt right here. Pro America, Born in the Cage. Love the flag right here with the baseball at the top. Also got a new banner from these guys. These guys are awesome. Derek, Bino, big shout out. Good luck in Arizona. I'm hoping we'll see if we can get out there. If not Arizona, then Florida. Maybe I'll get up with you guys. Got a guy out here in Colorado probably could do some decent catching for you. Sometime. Maybe we'll try to get it there. Also, check out my website, emeraldcoastbaseballacademy.com. You can go on the YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram, JSintez34. We're going to have a new shirt line coming out. Just a bunch of new information. Erik, welcome to the show. I appreciate us getting together. I know we did some texting trying to get some things situated, but thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, we'll jump right into it. You and I played together. I met you at the end of your college senior season. Graduated from Mesa College in Colorado, right?
Yeah, Colorado Mesa University. Fresh out.
Fresh out, Colorado Mesa. Freshie, jumped in right into the Santa Fe the Fuegans, and we immediately got you to some Bill Mooreisms and jumped right in. And
yeah,
that bunch we had was man. I still talk to a lot of those guys now, including yourself. We just had a blast. A lot of really good baseball minds and just good people and guys that you want to keep up with the friendships the rest of your life. So in comparison to that team to this team this year, by the way, I'll go let everybody know you were the MVP of the Pecos League. Congratulations! I mean, being the MVP of anything is just outstanding. So. Big shout out and big props to yourself, and you also brought home the ship this year.
Got the ring this year. Finally got it for Santa Fe.
Yeah, well, tell us about your experience and how everything went this year.
Well, to start out, Bill Moore isms is kind of needing explaining. He's older, very smart baseball coach, and you immediately love him the second you meet him.
Yeah, for those that haven't seen it yet, Bill was on the podcast, so we spent about 2 hours with him. And
okay.
He and I, I don't know if you've seen it, you probably haven't, but go check that out. Bill gets after it for 2 hours on this thing.
And sounds about right.
Yeah, the guy's a talker. He's one of the best coaches that I've played for in my lifetime, and I just love the guy to death.
Absolutely. My first experience with him was he actually traded for me I came from Taos to Santa Fe, and my first meeting with him, I shook his hand. I said, "Thank you for having me. What would you like me to do?" And in a G-rated version, he was like, "Who are you?" I was like, "All right. I'm a catcher. I'm here to play some baseball." And from that point on, I mean, we just I got to meet you. I got to meet a bunch of great guys on that team. It was a lot of fun that year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what? And I asked Bill this, and he gave me a couple answers. What was your version? What's your opinion on what was different between our team and the team you guys won the ship with this past year?
Well, I think the main difference is from the beginning, Bill kind of gave us a speech about how we're a family. And, I know the year that I was there, that was a family, but it was more this year of, we each had each other's backs. There was no real cliques on the team. We all got along with each other. And I know, especially in a couple cases, if you did have a disagreement or, anything wrong with something that somebody said or did, it was addressed immediately. And we kind of treated each other more like best friends rather than friends. Whereas a friend, you would just kind of, maybe not talk to that person or maybe just kind of go talk to someone else about it and get some people on your side. Whereas a best friend, you're going to be like, "Hey, what's going on? Why did this happen?" And you kind of get it at the source. And, after that, it's all better because of it. You each kind of get your opinions out there and you come to a conclusion, and that way you can focus more on baseball and focus more on, trying to win ball games. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you hear all Hall of Famers all the time, or guys that are talking about one of the biggest things that that people miss away from the game, and it's the camaraderie and that family feeling. And for those who haven't experienced that yet, especially when I'm doing lessons, these youngsters, I see, bouncing from team to team, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to play a lot of baseball, I have nothing wrong with playing a lot of baseball. But there's nothing like being on a team that wants you, but not only wants you to do your best every time and expects that, and wants you to expect that of them also. And that's one thing that I really liked about our team is, Bill being the manager, he was able to manage a lot of the games. He didn't have to manage personalities. We did have a couple guys, the franchise, some people like that, He brought that up in the podcast, some people like, but, that was one of the things I was always, it was my second year when was your first year with Bill. And he traded for me also, and I got I came over, and I hadn't even been to Santa Fe in the Pecos League, actually. And it was just one of those situations. I got there, saw right field, saw the field, and I was like, where am I? Like, what is going on,
Yeah.
And, before you got there, I don't know if you know this, but I built that bullpen mound down right field because I was tired of not having one. It was me, and, I won't take all the credit for it. I'd say every pitcher helped contribute to it. But we made per bucket. I think it took us like 75 buckets of dirt, and we literally digged up the warning track and made the bullpen mound. Is what we did.
That was the same thing at the beginning of this year. We got there, and this is our field, and it was like, okay, where's the bullpen? And it had turned into where the rubber was about a 6-inch drop cutout. Where it looked like water had just poured over it and just dug it out.
Yeah.
And so we actually were fortunate enough to have a couple guys get bags of clay. And that really helped. We just spent kind of a full day, there's 4 or 5 guys that spent probably a good 4 hours on it. And then when everyone showed up before the game, we all kicked in and finished up. But made that bullpen mound as close to, if not identical to, the mound they'd be pitching off of in the game, which was really helpful.
Knowing how information works in the Pecos League, Bill actually exposed that Mr. Dunn spent money on that clay that came from the league. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah. So, investing in the team, you got to protect the team that draws the most fans,
I guess so.
The atmosphere last year, or this past season to our season, did you feel like the fans were about the same? Did you have more fans? Tell us about the disappearance of the beer garden.
It kind of affected the game in that there wasn't so much rowdiness as a dedication. So the people who were there because they enjoyed baseball and they followed us and they really cared about how we did. A lot of the host families brought out families and friends and people to the ballpark, and the people who came were there because they loved the game of baseball. And I think last year a little bit of that was lost because, the beer garden kind of brings in people who have the intention of having a good time. And that's all fun, but when it gets to a family environment, especially with Santa Fe, where a majority of the people there who live there are the older population. They come because they want to watch the game, and they want to sit and actually watch the game.
And not have a 4th of July brawl.
Yeah, and exactly. They really respected the game, and they showed that to us by, a lot of our fans were return fans, and these were people we didn't even know, but they would come and they knew all about us. They would shake our hands, and after the games, before the games, they were more than happy to just extend their hand of friendship towards us, which was great, especially for a city like that we could go in there and we could put on that show for them and succeed so well for them.
Awesome. That's good to hear. It sounds like it hadn't changed. I was a big fan. I still talk to my host family today. They're always checking up on me with me going to Mexico. They were super worried about me and stuff like that. I had a blast. So let's jump right into what you and I connected on. You caught me in a game, and I swear you experimented on me on things that you thought. I don't know if you remember that game. It was a 7-inning game.
Distinctly.
and I'll never forget it because I remember you calling some pitches. And to this day, I still use some of those pitch sequences and locations. and I really enjoyed it. And not getting the CG in that game still harps to me to this day. But it's a different game there with the lack of the designated hitter and the way people get pulled out of games so early. So, and I understand that.
Right. And the right field fence, of course, is always it's one swing away.
Yeah.
One swing away from completely changing the game in that ballpark. But yeah, I distinctly remember that game with you simply because it was the first time I felt like I was in a video game, to be honest. If I called hats off to you. When I called a pitch, you threw it there within about 4 inches of the pocket of my glove. So whatever I called, whatever I had in my head, you were able to execute, and it made my job so much easier. And I always say catchers are like the linemen. They protect, they kind of take care of the quarterback being the pitcher here. But it's really ultimately the pitcher's show. It's the pitcher who gets the glory. It's the pitcher who has the spotlight on them. And it's my job and a catcher's job to make sure that pitcher is performing his best during that day and during that game. So I feel like as a catcher, the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can, do what's important, which is make your pitcher successful, regardless of what's working, what's not working that day, what kind of stuff he has, what team you're playing. If you can connect with that pitcher and help them succeed in any way, then you're going to be successful as a team.
I will tell you, my catcher down in Mexico, my first 3 outings from spring training into the first game of the season, I had a different guy every game. The first guy didn't speak a word of English, and I actually broke his finger on an inside cutter to a lefty on a 0-2 pitch, where he was one of the guys. And in Mexico, they teach a little bit different thing. If this is your glove hand, they teach the throwing hand to stay behind right here, even if no one's on, which is a little different to me. But it moved late, and he went with both hands, and this hand got outside. He got foul tipped and broke his finger. That's first inning of the first game against another team in spring training.
Ouch.
And so, and in practice, I hadn't even thrown to this guy. I had just spent 30 minutes. I got there 30 minutes early just so I could get translations in so we could talk about sequences, the things that I wanted to do. Then they slapped some other guy in there, haven't thrown to him at all, and he can't get on the same page. I can't even get him to call the cutter. I don't even know what the word in Spanish for cutter is, and I'm trying to explain to him, like, this cutter, and he's like, no say, which is, I don't know. And so there's just this big language barrier thing, and fortunately enough, the guy that I finally got on my first start spoke English and comprehended and was a real catcher. Reminded me a lot of you about my first outing. I think I went like 7 2/3, went into the 8th inning, had like 8 or 9 strikeouts. And this guy, by the end of the game, is just calling James Shields back foot inside changeups to righties, inside cutters to righties, 0-2 fastballs, trying to make it a 2-seam, wants to throw it up and into a righty, like just getting crazy creative. And you talked about a video game earlier, and that was one of the things I think I told you that. That's like one of my favorite things to say to a guy. I'm like, you ever play 2K? And yeah, and I go, call pitches like that. And you're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. It's hard as crap to hit anything but the straight ball. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here. And, the camaraderie thing, I think that's huge also. I think with any ball player, especially if you're getting pro ball, when a new guy comes in, you're threatened, unless it's a pitcher-catcher thing. And some guys like to feel guys out. You just have this glow about you. I'm sure everybody can see it right now, where you're just a nice dude. And by the way, you're not tiny either. You're a giant human. What are you coming in at now? What are you, about 6'5", 6'7"?
No, with cleats on, we'll say that.
Have to, of course.
6'4". So a lot of people question about how being so tall and being a catcher, like, how is that hard on your knees? And it's like, nah, just work on flexibility and you'll be fine, and it works. I enjoy it. I love catching, even though I'm tall, even though I might not fit the bill as a catcher type build. I still love it. and I'll never trade it for anything else in the game. And I mean, people always wonder, how do you get so low? It's like, well, you just get down there,
Yeah,
you just do
yeah.
it. I don't know how to
Being a
describe
long legger myself, I remember the first couple times I started throwing to you, I was like, dang, he got down there. Like,
it. Yeah.
his knees are almost on the ground. That's where he wanted to be. And so, hats off to you there on working on your flexibility and keeping that up. Is that something you work on in the off season, trying to get into your stance, work on things like that?
Yeah, it stemmed actually from when I was in high school. I was more of a speed guy. I was contact, run it out, steal bases, kind of disrupt the game that way type guy. And then I got into catching in high school, and with speed, I've always been taught that flexibility is a key proponent of being fast. So I always work on flexibility just to be able, you never want to go to squat down and then feel that tightness and be like, that's not good, because with tightness comes injury. When you're not flexible, you're more prone for injury. When you're not flexible, you're a little slower. And, if you want that speed and if you want to be able to move around and not get injured or have a reduced risk of injury, then flexibility is a key proponent of that.
I'm going to agree with that 100%. I think most arm injuries are actually due to possible tweak and tightness,
Yep.
and then just push through. A lot of guys try to go what I call, especially when I'm doing lessons, a football mentality, where they think they're being weak by talking about some sort of discomfort or pain, and I'm just, after being hurt myself and pretty much doing the exact same thing. If there's anything that a guy feels, first of all, I want to know about it. I've tried to absorb as much knowledge from all of the doctors and physical therapists that I've been through that now have got me back to where I'm at now. And I feel like I'm on an outstanding workout program. I ended my season 120 innings, was still 93, 94 in my last, in the eighth inning of my last game, I was still 93, 94. So, just going through that whole, workout and everything, it was very easy to stay flexible and keep working out and not stop working out or throwing. So I'm totally with you on that one. So
Yep. Yep.
Now your catching style, fresh out of college, you backed up a guy, one of my favorite humans of all time, and Kellen Lee, which we're hoping to have, or the doctor, as we like to call him.
The good doctor, absolutely.
Yeah. Your style coming out of college, I noticed you're definitely an observer like I am. I remember sometimes being on the bench with you and we talking about things and just talking about sequences and styles of catching and stuff like that. I'm personally a guy that, I remember when you came out and you were a real shifty guy, and you were what Kellen would call framing, and you're not at the art store. It's
right.
And I remember talking to you about that, and watching you evolve. Now, is that something that you worked on the year before to this year? Do you feel like you got even better at almost being some people call a statue of catching, or sit and not move, or pro style? Do you feel like you caught a difference from college to pro ball?
Absolutely. I will start out by saying that Kellen is the doctor. The guy, absolutely, just watching him catch. A lot of people wanted to know, a lot of the guys on the team this year that were new wanted to know why I didn't start the year before. And it's because Kellen was the catcher, man. It's Kellen. You just gotta, know the guy. You gotta see him. You gotta watch him catch. And I'm actually very grateful for that opportunity, because a lot of guys sit on the bench and they're upset they sit on the bench, but I used it as an opportunity to learn. And I knew where my weaknesses were, and I know that if I watch someone who's good at what I'm not good at, I can learn from that. And that's exactly what I did. And like you said, you're framing, but you're not at an art store. But from a little kid starting out to growing up, they tell you frame. You have to frame to be a catcher. Well, I learned that I'm not a catcher, I'm a receiver. And if I call it receive and deceive, okay? So if you receive the ball correctly, you're going to deceive the guy behind you and get that call without having to frame, okay? If you make it look as though you're simply just catching the ball, or like I like to say, is just receiving the ball, you can make it look like a strike just the same as framing, but in framing, it's very obvious. So when you receive the ball, you're actually not making it obvious. Kellen was great at that. I got to learn, especially on those low pitches, keep my thumb under the ball. I got to learn about, like you said, kind of more staying still. I guess you call it the pro style. Um, Basically, it's anyone can do it as long as you just watch it and you apply it.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel fortunate is that I got to see it, and I knew how I looked catching, and I know how I catch. And at that point, I got to just watch, and I got to catch bullpens every day for guys going in, warm up guys. And bullpens were my best time for practice because that's what a catcher does. They catch a million bullpens. Well, are you going to take those bullpens as oh man, another bullpen, or are you going to take it as a good practice, as a good way to work on what you need to work on? And so what I did is I tried to apply those things while I was catching. And of course, it's not going to come right away. You're going to mess up. You're going to get caught. You're going to do things wrong. But through that, you learn how to do it. And that's what I did. I learned how to do it. I learned how to catch guys that were throwing 94, 95 miles per hour. And, Bowser crow hopping off the mound, coming in at 92 miles an hour, but he's 10 feet closer after that crow hop. You learn real quick how to receive those. No lights in the bullpen, by the way. You're just working off the lights from the field. And it was a learning process. And that's why I was so excited to go back this year, is because I got to learn so much. I got to talk to you guys that, kind of veterans that have been there. I got to see Kellen. He was the all-star starting catcher,
The guy was responsible for 9 outs in the freaking all-star game. I told someone that the other day. I'm like, he made by himself 9 outs.
Exactly.
That's unbelievable. That's 3 innings of a game.
And I got the privilege to sit there and have a front row seat and see that. And it just drove me to be a better catcher. It drove me to be a better receiver, and it helped me to just work in that off season and catch bullpens, and not just sit there and catch a bullpen, to sit there and pretend like it's a game and really work on my receiving, work on my blocking. I got to learn how to talk to pitchers. That's another huge thing. It's every pitcher's different. Every pitcher has a different personality, and each guy you have to approach a different way. And you learn how to talk to guys. You learn their strengths, their weaknesses, and you learn kind of the psychological part of it as well. So I took that as my own little personal catching school,
Yeah.
And then when I came back this year, it was just, I was so excited because I finally got to apply it to a game, to a team, instead of just trying to apply it to guys that, who are still in college or whatever, that, whoever, hey man, you want to throw a bullpen, come, let me catch you. I actually got to apply it to a team atmosphere, and that was part of the excitement of coming back.
Well, and so you trained with a college, was it a college you went to in between seasons?
Yeah, I caught some guys from the college I went to because I live in the same town. And also there was a guy who played for Alpine, actually played for Alpine this last year, who we started on the same team. I got traded to Santa Fe. He got traded to Alpine. And he was going back to Alpine. I was going back to Santa Fe. So we worked together religiously. I got to catch him a lot, and I got to really, work a lot with him. So that was good. Right
on. That's great, man. I got to train. I'm still training right now at one of the local junior colleges. The guy that was my pitching coach in junior college is now the head coach of the place that's pretty much in town. So once a week I get to go fire it up game speed. And I'll tell you this: if you don't believe me, I'll give you the phone number to the guy. But last Monday I threw 155 pitches straight in game situation, and I will tell everybody the secret. The secret to being able to throw long in games is training like that. And I don't go out and pitch like it's innings. I never stop. I go out and go batter after batter after batter, and I want to beat my pitch count. I'm not even worried about if the kids hit me or not. First of all, they got aluminum bats, and it's just cheating anyway. But I want to beat that to increase my strength. So I'm pretty excited about where I'm starting this year and already being able to get to that amount. Last year, right before I headed down to Mexico, I ended up right around 200 pitches per outing. And it's just like long tossing for a long amount of time. I'm not going out and throwing a bunch of curveballs or a bunch of sliders or a bunch of things that are going to hurt my arm. I will snap some off, make sure kid knows who's boss every once in a while,
Yeah.
but I'm going to
Yeah.
mainly say four-seam, two-seam, cutter, change, and mix and try to pitch with those pitches and deceive guys, like you're talking about. So that's awesome. And one of the things I think is hilarious is how disillusioned some of these college kids are from the pro game. You coming in and you know some of the guys that are even on your team that came in that were the hot shot guy. College was easy. I dominated college, and we're all going like, yo, you don't know what's going on. You're 7,000 feet above sea level. It's a 13-year-old ballpark. Like, you're about to get humbled real quick. One pitch, just one. Even if it's not even really your fault, one slight twist of the ball moves in your hand or something like that, and it flutters, and the guy didn't even. I mean, I gave up 2 broken bat home runs that year with you. I mean, legitimate dodge the barrel. Where did the ball go? You're kidding me! It went out. How did it go out?
Yeah.
And so that's just one of those things. That's all.
And the guys who have this year who had the most success were the ones who didn't come in too big on themselves, who came in a little more humble, who learned and didn't let a broken bat Walt fence scraper at 273 feet, ruin their day or get to them. They knew they made a good pitch. They knew they broke the guy's bat or they got it off the handle or off the end. They knew they succeeded in what they wanted to do. It's just they didn't get the outcome because of factors that they can't control. Yeah. And the guys who learned that from the start had the most success because it wouldn't get to them. They wouldn't be upset about giving up a home run. They wouldn't be upset because our guys could hit that and do just about the same thing. So the guys who were able to learn that and able to get that through their head sooner were the ones who had the most success.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's pretty funny. I mean, it's such a hilarious situation to even go through. Everybody's got to start from the bottom and really get through that. And once it's hard to even imagine, really, especially you guys going through college and being on legit fields and then just being welcome to the world of independent baseball and see what happens. And you just got to deal. All right, well, let's jump right into what you and I really connected on, which is sequences. And I want to be specific about this because I feel like even if you do this in the bullpen, I feel like it doesn't give you any confidence or anything. And I always tell everybody, if I can go up and pitch to batters alone in the offseason, which is hopefully this is what I get to do, I feel like I'm going to be such a better pitcher when I get in the season because it's second in nature. I don't think there's anything different than competing in situations, and it helps out guys on both ends. The thing that I'm excited about these college kids is I get to help them see another arm, a guy that throws all kinds of different pitches, and then they get to help me by trying to hit off me and just having someone in there that's trying to compete against me. And I like that. I don't care if there's not even a scoreboard on at the field, and I'm competing, And the funny thing is one of the guys I played against in high school is one of the assistant coaches there. He still brings up to this day that I threw a no-hitter his last game of his high school career. He's upset about that. Like, he is pissed. And so when I show up, there's like this little animosity for a minute, and he's the hitting coach too. And he's like, if you strike out more than 13 people a day, they're running 5 miles tomorrow morning. And I said, well, let's do it. Let's put it on, And so I've done it a couple times, and it brings it adds this level of competition for these guys, for an outside guy to come in and them really want to compete against me because they know if they get showed up and they don't do their job, they're running at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is completely different than pro ball. But a college is that at all. 6 a.m. whatever is prevention from you doing anything the night before, except for just counting down the minutes until you have to wake up to be there. So
absolutely.
All right, so we talked a little bit earlier about some specific pitches, some inside cutters. arm side to guys. I got a lot of these ideas watching guys like John Lester. Andy Pettit was one of the guys that I really had never seen anybody throw an arm side breaking ball. As a matter of fact, I remember hearing people all the time back in the '90s saying that it was a backup slider. You know, like he hadn't done it on purpose, but yet he's just painting. You know, the catcher's lined up down the middle, and he's just painting arm side cutter. You know, and see guys backing out. Can you explain to me, maybe from a hitter's perspective, why you feel like an inside pitch it's starting off the plate, moving on the plate, is a little deceiving to a hitter?
As a hitter, the cutter is the pitch that you are taught to let the ball travel and take it to right field as a right-handed hitter. You're taught that, you know, it looks like a fastball and it'll break off just enough to get off the barrel. And I think that when those guys throw a slider, it's a little slower. It'll start at you and it'll break onto the corner. But when you throw that cutter inside, now you have a fastball action that looks like it's kind of coming right at you. So immediately you get that instinct of that's in. And then it'll break and catch that corner for a strike. So it has a lot to do with the hitter and how the hitter's been hitting and what he's doing. But it represents, in my mind, a fastball that will move and catch the plate. But with its late break, like your cutter does have, or a good cutter will have, that late break, that last second movement enough to catch the plate, you literally have to start your swing that split second sooner in order to hit that ball. And if you do, keeping it fair is a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
Simply because you have to catch it so far out front. So it's an effective pitch in that it's hard like a fastball, but it's not slow enough to where you can recognize it like a slider and be able to pull your hands inside and keep it fair or hit it, you know, where you want to. It's more of a hard pitch in that you get your strike, or you'll get your broken bat, or you know, you'll get a guy frozen simply because he thinks it'll be in and it's not. It'll break right there. So
yeah, that's one of that pitch on the inside to a righty, and then being able to control two different depths inside on a lefty. One where I'm trying to paint the corner with it, start it more middle and have it move in, and then start in and move, you know, almost to the back knee. Or two pitches.
That's super effective for like that left-handed, you know, pull guy. Yeah. He'll hit that 94 miles an hour right on the inside corner, you know, into the upper decks in right field. Well, now you throw that cutter that'll start on that inside corner, and all of a sudden, by the time his barrel gets there, it's busting off of his hands, and he's either peppering his first base coach or getting a nice little ground ball to your first baseman for your out.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, it was absolutely just fun. And the guy that, shout out to Luis Tecate Gonzalez. His nickname was Tecate because that's the town he was from, and that's actually one of the big beer companies. The whole town is based around a beer manufacturing plant, Tecate Cerveza. But he knew. It was like, just like I told you before, he and I would absolutely, I'd go, you know, even if it was, I faced a couple of guys that had big league experience or, you know, AAA experience from Venezuela or Mexico, wherever. And if you got in the box and I felt like you were swinging and you were a lefty, I was just going to keep throwing barreling cutters inside and see if you could keep it fair. And I didn't even care, you know, and I just kept throwing it. And which was weird when I got to Canada because that concept was frowned upon, and, you know, that difference of opinions and philosophies, but, you know, I even threw one there and a guy ripped it foul, and I felt like I got reprimanded for it, and I was like, "What? That's a strike! Like, I don't understand. Like, that's what it was supposed to, you know." And it's a different school, you know what I mean? And nothing against, you know, Canada was still a great experience. I learned a lot about some stuff, but you know, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, back to your one of my favorite fantasy things to do with catchers and is take like who we feel like the best hitter at the time is, and then take my stuff and act like we're in this game and how would we attack this guy. So let's just, who do you feel like's the best hitter in the game, hottest guy right now?
Good question. I don't
We'll
know.
start off, who's your favorite team?
Jeter's my favorite player, of course.
Okay, so awesome, outstanding. How do you end your career in Yankee Stadium better than he did last night? Like seriously.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, hey, a little conspiracy maybe, Buck Showalter not walking him to enforce the double play? And then second baseman, what are you doing play so far up the middle when you know Jeter's trying to shoot it to the right? I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Yeah. I was like, when I saw it on ESPN, I was like, that was a big hole. That was big hole.
You're making sense. You're making sense. I'll give you that.
When he shot that thing to the right side, I was like, "What? Why was that guy standing on second base?" There had to have been a miscommunication between the second baseman and the pitcher there. There's no way he should have been right there.
You have a point. Yeah, you have a point.
All right, so let's take Jeter, for example. Let's take my stuff. Four-seam, two-seam, which, by the way, I'll sidebar, really worked on a lot of my Greg Maddux two-seams this year. My last outing in Mexico, another funny sidebar, I was released, suspended, acquired, and activated an hour before my last start. That's another funny story for another day, I'll tell you. But ended up having 8 strikeouts, 6 of them looking, all of them on backdoor two-seams to righties. Just as much as I could yank on this thing across my body to get it. So I'll give you that tool, and so we got the four-seam, the cutter, the two-seam, the 2 different change-ups, the hammer, which got better also. I kind of tweaked with that, tried to get away from that 12-6, got a little bit more on the arm path, more of a power sweeper, and then the slider that plays off the cutter. So how are we attacking Jeter?
Well, I think Jeter, with his inside-out swing, I would start him right off the bat with that cutter in. I think if you watched his last game, his supposed last at-bat they thought was going to be, he swung first pitch, and it was inside on his hands, and he hit a ground ball to the shortstop. I think there was an error. They tried to throw it to second, but it was going to be an infield hit. But with a guy like Jeter, early in the count, I feel like getting him hard in, if he's going to swing, that will most likely happen. After that, I would go straight to the cutter outside because in a hitter's mind, they see that run in back to them, and they're going to assume that a pitch coming in the same speed will have the same action, coming back to them. So if they see it start on the outside corner like that, they're going to think, oh, it's going to, it's coming right back to me. And he'll try to do the same thing, inside out it, take it to right field, and then it'll just break off the other way. And then from that point, it's pretty much, I put it in your hands. Whatever you want to do after that, it's you kind of just, whatever you're working with, whatever you want to do, I'm game.
For people that, a lot of people that don't know, when you have a good catcher you can trust, a lot of pitchers get up on the mound in fun 0-2 situations. And I work on this a lot, especially when I go out and throw in these games. I get a lot of the kids are taught to be aggressive against me because they know I'm trying to establish the fastball, what I'm doing. I get a lot of 0-2 counts in these situations, so I get to practice this a lot where I'm trying to throw not necessarily the perfect pitch, but the perfect location to try to read from there. And really,
that's crucial right there. Yeah. That statement right there, the location is what. Yeah. And really, so, not the pitch that matters, but the location.
Exactly. And so taking Jeter, and one of the guys that I like to model myself off after, pitching style wise, because this guy throws 2 different changeups also, James Shields, and he was one of the first people that I saw that really threw. And I heard him talk about spin and deception. And you as a hitter probably know if you see a white ball coming at you, the first reaction you think is fastball. And so your ability to spin it one way, like a curveball and have it white, or spin it with a changeup grip and have it be white, I think is just devastating. And that's actually one of the pitches that I tried to throw 0-0 a lot on guys would be if you see white ball, like the cutter, for example, inside, and it's coming straight, you think it's a fastball. You think
absolutely.
And I'd that 9 times out of 10, I had a guy a day early swing and miss, and that that other 10% guy was hitting a missile into the third base dugout. So in that situation, we got it. Maybe if we do have him 0-2, or maybe he's fouled one off, I think that also changes my strategy of it. But I might even go, if I have thrown 2 cutters that are white balls, I'm probably coming back, change up, down and in, trying to see if I can spot it. Maybe, and this term made a lot more sense to me this past year, and is glove lengths. Pitchers see in balls, but really what you see without the ball coming is the glove. So if I can measure in glove lengths, I want to be 1 glove length off the ground. So I want to be right there on that changeup. And if I throw it right, it should be traveling down, looking like a fastball, but the timing just being completely different, and get right there. You see Verlander throwing it there. You see King Felix all the time. They throw it 1 glove length off the ground. And if you throw it in a bullpen, it almost looks like you mess it up. And that's one of those pitches that in a game, you can throw it there all day and guys are going to swing at it. It could even be that curveball down that you keep your thumb underneath and catch it, and you're even catching it below your knees, but seeing how it sweep in, it's a whole other thing. So if he hits that, I don't know. I don't like to throw the same specific pitch in the same location. I might come back. I'd probably come back 2-seam inside, starting it on the black to see if I could get him to fight it off. And hopefully if I've done my job with the changeup, then he's probably swinging. He's definitely a contact 2-strike hitter. He rarely strikes out unless somebody's throwing something absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, yep. I wanted people to see that kind of conversation that you and I had, and I felt like that day that you caught me, I felt like more of us being a team, and I like to talk that way with my catcher and be like, we didn't miss today, and that's what it was a quick game. Even down in Mexico, a lot of the umpires had told our manager that they liked me pitching because 1, I worked fast, and 2, it was just whack, strike, or close strike. Guys are swinging, and the game would go by fast. And you get all these committees on Major League Baseball and everything that want to adjust the rate of play and this and that. I'm like, I don't know if you ever heard about the NBC World Series, but they put a dang shot clock on the guy getting into the box. When I was up in Canada, that was one of the things. I was walking around the mound. I'm like, don't wait for this guy to run off the field for you to walk up to the plate. Like, you should already be there. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I think that's what you see more than anything is guys want to hear their walkout song. Guys want to hear their name called. They feel like they deserve it, this and that. Well, no offense, but in Mexico, sometimes they got their name called after the first pitch. Nobody cares, and
right.
There's a DJ playing music the entire game. Like, he cuts it off on your leg lift, and then you have to throw a pitch. Like, it's rather distracting, So
yeah,
it's just one of those things. So, is there any pitch sequences that you feel like are cheating or to a hitter? Is anything that you feel like that like if a guy's going to be aggressive, for example, how would you attack someone like that where you can go up with a pitcher and then afterwards you're slapping hands with the pitcher afterwards going, ha, we got him.
Yeah, I was a leadoff hitter, and what bothered me the most was the first pitch of the ball game being that slow, loopy, breaking curveball that just went right down the middle, because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, first pitch of the game, fastball, it's my favorite pitch to hit. If it's there, I'm swinging, I'm putting a good swing on it, and hopefully I hit it somewhere. And then when they drop that in there.
Wait, so you're telling me people were throwing first pitch breaking balls the first pitch of the game?
Absolutely. I got it probably 50% of the games I played in. They would just drop it straight in there.
Well, I could see that with you. If you're going to go up there and swing at it, which I've heard plenty of guys, I wouldn't necessarily throw a curveball first pitch, but I might throw a cutter, which I feel like is still like a fastball, and it's going to get you to swing. But
yeah, after that, if they come back with another breaking ball after that and they get me to 2 strikes, then I feel like, yeah, you know what, you're cheating a little bit because, man, that's just, really? Like, that's not fair. Now I'm still kind of thrown off timing-wise on your fastball. I saw 2 breaking balls, then that just, I feel like I need to focus more on not being susceptible to a pitcher's pitch in a location that, if I had my first pitch fastball, I would have never gotten to that point.
Yeah.
But from the other standpoint of catching, I feel like those cutters, and then the same speed of a four seam that cuts, back in or tails back in on the righty's hands. If you can just mix those and you get a guy 0-2 swing and then kind of break his bat or foul it off, and then you just toy with him. It's when a pitcher like yourself during that game is on like that, it's almost like every guy you're just kind of like, this guy's coming up here thinking he's got you figured out, but you know what? I know you think that. Yeah. I know you're sitting there all, oh yeah, nah, man, like not today, but.
Well, and that during that game, referencing that, there's a lot of things in my pitching career where I have imprinted in my brain, and one of the things I remember so vividly is some of those pitches that we threw, but seeing your eye contact with me and seeing you through your mask smiling like you were laughing your ass off, and just being like, how did that work? Like that is, like
it was that moment where we both were looking at each other like, in no way, shape, or form does this make any sense, but we're doing it because it's going to work, and it does work. And then I'm sitting there laughing because it's like, this is kind of almost not a once in a lifetime, but once in a blue moon where that happens, and you just kind of chuckle at yourself because it's just so funny. Like, I don't know how
you get guys that don't understand, for example, a lot of guys made fun of me for having different versions of the cutter, but I got that from Maddox where, it wasn't even necessarily, and it's just basic, for me it was just physics in my head where it was like, okay, throw this faster, but spin it less, so it would be a little straighter, or throw this slower, spin it more, or throw it hard and spin it, and just putting different pitches, not really holding the pitch any different, but just trying to style it a little bit different and stuff like that. And that's one of the things I just thought was hilarious with with you. You and I are just dying laughing on the mound. And that's that kind of, you put that in the back pocket for the feel good moment. Like the doctor would tell a reference. Whenever you need to pick me up and you're trying to go from there. So yeah, it's and appreciate you going out and trusting me when we're out trying to have fun and that's where the game within the game, this intricate part that announcers overlook all the time. And I don't know if it's a lack of, there's a lot of information you hear on TV or see online, and it's like people are trying to hold on to this information. They don't want to give it out, and I don't know if I try to tell as many people as I can in a change-up setting, what do you think is more important, movement or deception?
I'm going to have to go with deception.
Okay, so define deception.
Deception in the fact that you're trying to make it look like something that it's not.
Okay, so, all right, so what is that something?
A fastball.
There you go. So a fastball. And I tell people that all the time. And I go, why would you not want to throw the changeup off the fastball they just saw? Makes total sense. And that's where I got that from James Shields. I'm watching him throw four seams, two seams, and cutters when he was with Tampa Bay. I mean, fortunately, we get him on the TV here all the time before he got traded to Kansas City. But then one time I watched him throw a changeup, and I'm stopping the DVR going, that's a four-seam fastball spin. And I'm breaking it down going like, oh, look at that. He's making it spin out of his hand like that. And then he's throwing another one, and it's just off the table nasty. And I go, oh, look at that. It's spinning like a two-seam. I'm like, oh, it makes so much more sense. People talk about the changeup's the hardest pitch in baseball to hit sometimes, but I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's the location and how you set some dude up. Like I said before, you see a big white ball, if I throw a four-seam change inside to a righty or even inside to a lefty, what do you think it is? You think it's a fastball, but it just never got there. So, right. I mean, it's that kind of stuff that really gets me, to the next level. And you hear guys talk about, oh, well, you have to throw a changeup this way, you have to throw it that way. And, I'm a big component of, if it works for you, don't change it. What worked for you may not work for someone else. And I got plenty of high school guys that I work with now that have natural run. As a matter of fact, one kid, a whole 16-year-old, natural, beautiful run, was talked out of it, and I hadn't seen him in a while from me being gone, but was talked out of throwing a two-seam. Perfect three-quarter slot guy, just perfect three, coming across And a lot of people think coming across your body is bad, but if you know anything about the arm, you have to come across your body. So
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like,
Anatomically speaking, it makes sense.
yeah, exactly. But they changed him to this more L-shaped movement, and he lost all of his slot. And then now his shoulder's starting to hurt. He's having elbow issues, and I'm going like, why'd you change it? Like, and they're like, well, they said I'd throw harder, and I'm like, why don't you just keep working on how you're throwing, and then we'll address that issue altogether. And matter of fact, 2 sessions after that, and he's a sophomore, by the way, on a pretty good high school team. And 2 sessions post us working, goes back, got his two-seam back, got his movement back, goes out, strikes out 6 guys in a row. And I'm like, he called me back, and he's like, listen, I'm not, no offense to my high school pitching coach, but it's not his way or the highway. I'm throwing the ball. I'm like, good, that's what you need to know. And that's an entire pro mindset. This cookie cutter throwing style. You're not a cookie cutter guy. I'm not a cookie cutter guy. I mean, you're a 6'4", 275-pound catcher.
That's pushing it a little bit for 275. But
hey, what are you, like 190 now or what?
I think last time I weighed, coming back from the summer and playing all summer long, I was 200 pounds, and I was kind of sad about all that weight I lost that whole summer simply because we played every day in that heat and just wasn't able to keep it on. But
awesome.
Kind of going back to the game within the game, just wanted to say, like, as a catcher, I always tell people, I always tell pitchers, if you don't like the pitch, shake me off. And then, especially if I'm just catching them for the first time or whatever, and if they do shake me off, then I kind of make a mental note of it, and then the next pitch that they want to throw, I make that mental note, and then I talk to them and ask them why. Because I want to be on the same page as you. I want to know everything that's going on in your head. I want to know why you thought that what I called wasn't good, because I don't just throw down pitches just because I feel like it. I'm throwing it down because I have a game plan, and I want to work that game plan. And if you want something different in that situation, well, then I want to know about it. I want to know what your strengths are. So, and that was the great thing about this summer is that, I would, occasionally get the shake off, but it started to be more because I just wanted to blow it by that guy, or I just wanted to do, I just wanted to show him up or something along those lines. And it wasn't that we weren't on the same page. It was kind of more of a personal reason.
Yeah, an ego, yeah.
Yeah,
which
and that
does not work at that ballpark.
Right, but and that being said, it's crucial to kind of be on the same page and go. I mean, I keep going back to it, but the game that I caught you, it was nice because I had a game plan, and I felt like you and I were kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
In the sense that when I threw down my sign, I felt like you were already in your wind-up, like, yeah, I know. Like, it was more of like a, I know, like, here it comes, than, oh, he called that, okay, I'll throw it.
Yeah.
And that's where I strive to be with every pitcher. I want that same feeling with every pitcher. I want the guy to just literally already know from the time I catch the ball and start to throw it back, he's thinking, I know exactly what he's going to throw right here. I know exactly what I want to throw, and I put it down, and it's that exact pitch that he wants, because and that just creates a better understanding of the game for both of us, and it leads to success, because if a pitcher's throwing something he wants to throw, he's throwing something that works, then he's going to be more successful if he has that confidence in that. And if I'm sitting there and I'm throwing it down and he's going, oh, heck yeah, like, all right, I was just thinking the same thing. And I love it when I go into the dugout and I talk to the pitcher about and he goes, man, it's like you were in my head. Like, I thought it and you put it there. And that, to me, is the ultimate goal. For me to just be, you and I be one mind out there.
Yeah.
And you're right. That is kind of, it is recognized, but like you said, it's like almost like people are holding on to it. Like they don't want to say it. They don't want to like let that secret out. But it's not a secret. I mean, that is successful, and that leads to success. And it's a great thing to have, especially catcher-pitcher relationships like that.
Yeah, I agree totally. Well,
Yeah.
dude, look, I don't want to eat up too much of your time. We definitely got to do this again. I feel like we could talk all night.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I appreciate it so much. So, for everybody, anybody wants to talk more catching or have any information, tell everybody where you're at, how they can get a hold of you. Instagram, Twitter, or anything.
I just hit me up on Facebook. Just find me, Erik Kozel, Erik, not with the C. Kozel, Kozel. Just find me, friend me, send me a message, whatever. I love talking about catching. I love hearing new things. I know Kellen actually had that Facebook page that he did with the pitchers and catchers and players and stuff, and
Yeah.
I love that. I love reading about that stuff because no one's in my eyes, nobody's perfect. You can always learn something new, and I'm always open for new options and new ways to catch, new sequences, new stuff like new situations, stuff like that. If I don't know about it, or if I can change something that I do, even just because somebody says something different and I go out and try it and go, oh yeah, that works. Like,
Yeah.
all right, good. I'm always open for stuff like that. So yeah, hit me up, let me know, talk to me.
Awesome.
I love it.
For me, you can find me on my website, YermoCoastBaseballAcademy.com, YouTube channel. Check out our podcast. Erik, go check out the one with Bill if you got a couple hours fired up. Trying to get on iTunes soon. I think that's going to be big. And also, thanks to our sponsor, Born in the Cage Apparel, BornInTheCage.com, Derek and Bino. Awesome. Appreciate it. Erik, look, dude, we could talk all night. We'll dig up some more stuff. Well, one last thing. Who's going to win the ship this year in the MLB?
Oh man, my Yankees are out of it, so I'm still hurting about that. So I'll just leave it at that, man. My Yankees
So
are
no comment. No comment.
No comment.
Yeah, well, I mean, my Braves are out too. I just want to see good baseball, good matchups. If I don't have a team in it, I want to see good games. So that's what whoever's. I wouldn't say the hot team, but whoever, and I'm always watching the pitching and stuff like that. So whoever's the hot pitcher that I can watch and try to learn from is what I'm excited about in that playoff atmosphere. So, well, thanks, man. I appreciate it, and we'll definitely get going from there. All right.
Well, thank you very much.